When I talk about being a stay-at-home mom and I talk about having a backup plan or several backup plans, like a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, elemental P, all of the plans, is because of things that this woman is mentioning in this post. You just never know what will happen if you become financially dependent on somebody and you're not able to just have a backup plan just in case. So she posted in the 2X chromosome subreddit saying, I have nothing against stay at home moms, but after working retail, I don't think I can ever be one. She says, so I work in retail and I've seen stay at home moms have to call and ask their husbands for money to pay or if they could use the credit card. One time, a woman was a stay at home mom and she was caught stealing while she was with her kids. I didn't judge her, especially after she explained how she was a stay at home mom. Her husband went to prison, and now it's hard for her to find employment in her field because of a gap. Again, I respect stay at home moms, but I don't think I could put myself in that position to financially depend on a man. I can see if I'm doing it temporarily until my child starts school because daycare is expensive. I'm also not saying every man will exploit you, but having your own makes it easier for you to walk away from a relationship that isn't serving you. This last sentence I know will get people caught up. Like she says, but having your own makes it easier to walk away from a relationship that isn't serving you. Some people want a woman stuck, and that's the reason why they balk when we say have a plan B, because they want a woman stuck in a relationship even when it's not serving her. All right, let's look at some of the comments because many of the comments speak to this precisely. Jealous location threw up the burb signal. So if you do want me to see things over on Reddit, you can tag me over there or you can send things to my inbox. Helpful Hour says, what's worse? Some women do it even without being married. Oh my God, yes. Being a stay at home girlfriend is a terrible decision. Terrible. You have no protections as a stay at home girlfriend. All right, she says, meaning they don't even get a share of the assets acquired by their partner thanks to their free labor. If you're going to be a stay at home mom, for the love of everything that is holy, get married and have a prenup that outlines your husband's financial obligations to you beyond just paying the rent, i.e., contributions to your retirement fund. All his earnings must go into a joint account, etc. Talk to a lawyer, your own, not your partner's. I know a lot of people freak out when they hear the word prenup because it's not romantic, but newsflash, life isn't an effing fairy tale. Things get tough, people change. A well drafted prenup is like insurance. You hope you'll never need it, but when it happens, it could be a lifesaver. Mademoiselle says, I work in this field and I'm telling people to get prenups all the time. The people who are against prenups are the same people who are against any kind of insurance because it's like betting on failure. You're right. They live in a fairy tale. Major Granger Danger says, I didn't get a post-nup and lost several million. He got a non-terminal brain tumor and completely changed. You never know what might happen. And to that, Nemo Flamingo, that is a nice name, says, this is not a scenario I would have ever imagined. It's got me rethinking my stance. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Not My Cinnamon Wax says, yes, it's so sad. I cringe when I see these posts of women blithely stating that they are stay at home moms with a boyfriend. It's such a perilous position. Clearboard says there's nothing less romantic than marriage. A prenup should be the first splash of cold water that starts to wake people up from the romantic dream society tries to induce around it. The horror that ensues is real. I've heard people talking at parks about how their partner won't let them buy a coffee after having a child or pay for anything for them, however, regularly drinks beer. It can get really petty and controlling. I've seen what happens when couples in abusive partnerships separate. Abusive men do not seem to understand their partners are working and contributing until this is explained by a lawyer. They don't believe it or agree with this and go to extreme lengths to ensure that their partner receives as little money as possible. It's like they have all read the same book. It's chilling. And at the bottom, this person, Captain Binky, says they go to a divorce like they're going to war. Here's the OP, and I agree with her assessment. I've said it already. I'll say it again with her. I would never recommend being a stay-at-home mom unmarried. There's no legal protection. You're taking yourself out of the workforce. Nothing is going on your social security number. There is a gap in your work history. It is not a very smart position to be in. Bipolar B word says, I know someone who is 23 and has 3 kids and pregnant with their fourth with her boyfriend, not even a fiance, and is a stay-at-home mom. Key Possibility says the absolute wild thing is some people would call her a gold digger only if poopy diapers are gold or a man's dirty underwear. Angry Sparrow says, what country is this? In my country, New Zealand, everything gets split 50-50 after 2 years of living together, whether you're married or not. We do not have the same protections here in the United States. That's what Initial Stranger is saying. In the U.S., everything is separate until legal marriage. A few states recognize common law marriage, but it's really hard to prove. You basically have to go around wearing rings, calling each other husband and wife, file taxes together. Available Seesaw says, in Australia, you live with your partner for a couple of years and blammo, you're de facto. You have the same rights as a married couple. Time Faithlessness says, good God, I lived this. I don't know why I was so trusting. I was terribly traumatized my whole life, and for so long I was looking for a safe place when I never knew in my life what safe felt like. I had a child who is a malignant narcissist. He drank like nothing I've ever seen in my life. Looking back, I know he used me to get his parents to buy him a house. His parents are the worst enablers I've ever seen. After our baby was born, he told me he wouldn't babysit while I looked for work. I had no family to help me. I had finally realized the horror of my childhood, woke up to the abuse I survived. I wish I would have married him now, or had him sign and write down in words and then sign and notarize his empty promises. He was all talk and no action. I struggle to this day, 15 years later, to forgive myself for trusting him. This is the reason why you have got to look at people's childhood and how they're raised to see if they were just trying to escape trauma or child abuse or whatnot from their family home, because sometimes people are escaping the fire to go straight into the frying pan. You know that saying. Disastrous Coffee says, I work in ICU and have unfortunately encountered a lot of women with absolutely no concept of how to pay bills, how to manage money, how to check credit card. They didn't know how to get into the accounts and how many they had, etc. Made it real difficult to keep paying a mortgage when the partner who did all that is intubated and sitting in a hospital bed. And this spanned all ages, from newly married at 19 to retired age. If someone wants to be a stay-at-home mom, the least they could do is have an idea of their finances and how to access them. How people think life insurance is an indefinite plan when they have zero financial literacy is beyond me. This woman is saying, did you work in the middle of nowhere? Most women I know are a lot more competent at life skills than the average man. And to that, she says, that's when I lived in Texas for less than a year and a half. Moved to Washington and stopped encountering those kinds of scenarios. This person who deleted their account says, don't worry, the men in Texas are also completely unable to pay bills. The whole state is effed. She starts describing some grossness at the bottom. I'm not going to repeat, but she says she saw some traumatizing things in the ER in Texas. Okay, I'm going to end it there. I'm sure that many of us have seen or heard or experienced whatever, some of the things that we've talked about, because I've talked about these cautionary tales of being a stay-at-home mom enough for there to be enough cautionary tales. I'm going to keep repeating this, not because I am trying to push people away from being a stay-at-home mom. If you want to do it, fine. Just make sure you have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, elemental P, all of the plans. That way you can survive regardless of marital status. Join the conversation, like, comment, and share.